Good morning once again. Call back into order the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors meeting for December 5th, 2017. Ask Flo to call the roll. Establish quorum, please.
Supervisors Cerna.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Peters.
Here.
Frost. Here. Natoli.
Here.
And you have a quorum.
Okay, and we have an item that, once we take action on, I know it needs signed documents have been worked out with the clerk's office because they have to do the delivery by, I guess, noon hour today. So, all right, go ahead and call the item.
Okay, so for item 39, you are acting as the Board of Supervisors and Sacramento Housing Authority of the County of Sacramento. It's the Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act hearing and approval of tax-exempt bonds and loan commitment for the Southwind Court Apartments.
Okay, and we have a new presenter, I think, this morning. So please introduce yourself.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. My name is Nicole Brown, and I'm a housing finance analyst with the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency.
Good morning, Nicole.
The report before you requests approval of a $4 million loan commitment consisting of home, affordable housing funds, and housing trust funds, and the approval of the issuance of up to $15 million in mortgage revenue bonds for the rehabilitation of Southwind Court Apartments. Southwind Court was built in 1988 and is located in the Florin area of Sacramento County. The 88-unit property consists of 1, 2s, and 3 bedrooms. In 2000, a very limited rehabilitation took place, but the property hasn't been substantially rehabilitated. Southwind is currently at risk of foreclosure, which would result in the loss of all affordability restrictions. Levy Affiliated will be purchasing the property, recapitalizing, and substantially rehabilitating Southwind. The existing 70 affordable units will be maintained, and the remaining 17 market rate units will be converted into affordable units. All units would be restricted at 50% and 60% of the area median income. All the units will be upgraded to include new kitchens, bathrooms, energy-efficient appliances, windows, flooring, heating, air conditioning, and doors. Exterior upgrades include new siding, trim, paint, roofing, gutters, stairway railings and risers, and garage doors. Upgrades to the existing amenities include a major expansion of the community room, upgrade of 1 pool, a new playground area, and landscape improvements. The pedestrian and fire access gates will also be upgraded, and new exterior lighting and security cameras will be installed throughout the property. Southwind Court will be managed by Platinum Realty Management, and resident services will be provided by Embrace Foundation. Due to the uncertainty of federal tax reform, staff and the developer are preparing to issue and close on the mortgage revenue bonds by the end of this year. In closing, staff recommends approving the loan commitment and issuance of mortgage revenue bonds for the rehabilitation of Southwind Court. Jacob Levy from Levy Affiliated is here with us today, and staff is available to address any questions that you may have.
Okay, can I just get clarification, Nicole? So the resident services will be provided by who? You said the Grace Foundation?
Embrace.
Oh, Embrace Foundation, the Embrace Foundation. And how many hours of resident services beyond, obviously, those normal activities for the after-school programs and so forth? How many hours a week will they get?
They're 15 hours.
15 hours a week?
Yes.
Okay, and there's largely after-school activities for children?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let me ask board members, Supervisor Kennedy, any questions?
Great project.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Okay.
And
All right.
I move staff recommendation. If there's no comment.
Second.
Yeah. Okay, we do have a board member who wants to speak, but okay, we have a motion and we had a second. Did I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Supervisor Frost wanted to, but did Mr. Levy want to address the board prior to any questions or just here for questions? Okay, just to be sure. Okay, good. All right. Okay, as long as you're fine. I just want to be sure. I didn't know if you wanted, Nicole mentioned you, so as long as we have a motion, say, okay.
Sure.
All right, Supervisor Frost.
I just have a question. It kind of goes back to, and I'm sorry I didn't think to ask this when we had our meeting this last week. It goes back to the fees that we charge. I've been receiving some feedback from people regarding the fact that our fees are higher than others. I'm going to support this. I think this is a great project, but I did want to ask if we could, I did a little bit of research, looked at some of the other housing authorities, some of them, like Fresno charges up to $5,000 for that annual fee. They cap it at $5,000. And San Diego, they charge $4,000, and then they increase it by 1% every year. I'm not sure if that's 1% of the annual fee or if it's 1% of the bond amount. And LA charges 0.125, where we charge 0.15. I'm sure there are some that charge more than us. The question I have, and that I want to kind of get to understand is, I want to understand the fees and what is the service that we provide and how do we justify what we charge, so that I can respond to businesses and to individuals who are, investing in these projects, who have to pay these annual fees. And so I wonder if I can ask for some report back on the fees and what we charge and how we compare in the with other housing agencies, and what are the activities that are performed. How do we rationalize? I think our annual fee is capped at $22,000 or $22,003. It was in a report, $22,500. It's quite a bit higher than $5,000 a year. So I'm not sure what we do what more we're doing. Obviously, we must be doing more. So
you're correct. Our annual monitoring fee is 0.15% of whatever the bond amount is. And we have actually done a very thorough study of all the other local government issuers and other issuers as well, which we're happy to provide you. In fact, that was part of our updating our multifamily lending policies that we hope to bring forward to the board next year. And I think we are suggesting in those policies a slight reduction. So, but we can get you that information. We'd be happy to.
Okay, I would like to, and if in that information it's not spelled out what we do for that fee, I would like to know,
Sure,
so that I can respond to people and say, well, there's a reason why we charge this.
So I can tell you right now that the difference between SHRA and basically most of the local government issuers is that we do on-site monitoring annually. So we're going to go out there every single year and look at the condition of the development and make sure in the interior and exteriors are maintained the way they should be. We also do a file audit and making sure that all the files and the records that are kept people are income eligible, they're not paying over what they should be paying for their rent and things like that. So, and that is time consuming. We also review their audited financial statements, but we can give you a whole list of everything we do for that fee.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, all right. Supervisor Cerna?
Yeah, a question for Nicole. Is this the first time you've presented to the board?
This is.
Great job.
Thank you.
Well, it'll show in the vote in just a moment, too. So, I did have one other question, and that relates to the improvements. Again, in doing the staff briefing yesterday, I did recall when we had actually put some money into this back around the year 2000, and it was a minor, I guess, inflection or infusion of money to the property. But I want to be clear because the one picture that was included in our staff report shows a second-story porch, a patio area with, it looks like it's being supported by 2 redwood posts that have been put in there to, I suppose, to keep it from falling in or worse. And so that was not mentioned. It mentions about landings and stairways and staircases and those areas there because drainage is very important. And I guess a 2-part question. One, I assume those are all going to get fixed. It doesn't call them out specifically. Yes. But secondly, then if we have this amount of money into this project, along with all the various other sources, obviously a new firm that's going to be taking this over, it should never get to this condition to begin with. And safety inspections, we saw some of the things that have happened here in recent years in other communities where people, either severe injury or death in some cases, again, different type of loading and, larger congregations of people. But nonetheless, this, shows a lot of neglect on the part of I assume the current owners and, previous owners as it relates to any standard maintenance that would have at least kept those parts of the building in a much safer situation. And so I guess my question is, so that is all going to be repaired for all the units, both the ground floor and, because there's risk to people at the ground floor as well as on the second story.
Yes, all those repairs are included in the scope.
Okay, and then the last part of that question, but my last question is that what sort of inspection will occur on a regular basis? I assume with levy management or levy management that you're going to have a different set of eyes and ears in management company, but properties can be sold even if the affordability is maintained. So does the agency, kind of going back to what Supervisor Frost asked about, what sort of inspections will we do that we would, if we saw something deteriorating to, hopefully long before this level, we'd call them out on it and say, you got to make that repair. That's what you have a sinking fund for as it relates to operational and maintenance issues. And so where do those assurances come in that we can make sure it doesn't, we're putting a lot of public money into this property.
I can help answer that question for Nicole. So during construction, our construction management staff will be out there usually every couple of weeks to make sure the work is being done adequately and as up to standard. And of course, there will be a county inspection when it's done as well.
Right.
But annually, we have known that this property during our inspection was becoming an issue for the last couple of years, and we have encouraged this sale to go through so these repairs can be made. I think that this property wasn't necessarily capitalized the way it should have been in 2000, and we are making sure that there are capital reserves set aside to deal with things like this going forward.
Okay, because I'll just make this my view. Affordability doesn't equate to substandard living conditions.
Correct.
And some of these are substandard building, and they're building deficiencies, but those are conditions that none of us would want to be in, irrespective of what our income level is or our situation was relative to housing. So anyway, this is a good thing. I concur, and I support the action. So, all right, if there's no other questions or comments, then we have a motion. Please vote.
Unanimous vote.
All right, and clerk was working with SHRA staff for execution of the documents so they can be delivered to, I guess, folks by noon. So, all right. Next item.
Next item is item 40, and you are now acting as the Board of Supervisors. It's the 2018 Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency proposed budget.
Okay, it's just a few seconds before 11:15, so you can. We okay to start on the presentation, Council? All right. Okay, she's done with the introduction. Opening comments. All right.
Okay. Opening comments. Good morning. Members of the board. I am Lachelle Dozier, the Executive Director of the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency, and I'm here to present our 2018 proposed budget.
Good. You're good. It shows
You want me to-
11:15 on our clock here, so we're
When
good.
does your budget start?
Our budget starts in January. Okay, here we go. And it's based on a calendar year, January through December, and incorporates the activities of the Housing Authority of the City, the Housing Authority of the County of Sacramento, as well as federal entitlement programs and local housing programs administered by the agency. So we do have a slide presentation, but I'm just going to keep on going until that comes up. So the 2018 proposed budget is a balanced budget of $190 million, and it reflects our estimated resources available to fund all of the programs, projects, and operations of the agency for 2018. We have a chart here that would be coming up on the slideshow presentation that really talks about the revenues as well as the other sources. So 84% of the funds from the agency are federal. So our Housing Choice Voucher, our public housing program, as well as capital fund, our community development block grant, all of those are federal funds, and that makes up 84% of our budget, which is about $160 million. The other $30 million comes from state and local resources, our local housing trust funds, some of our miscellaneous housing funds as well.
Lachelle, let me just take, on the PowerPoint, let me interrupt you. So the one that was sent over 2 weeks ago, are you still working off of that one then?
That is correct.
Okay, so they're going to load it up. Just give them a second so you can continue, but they're going to punch that one up from 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So, all
Do
right.
you want me to just keep going?
You can keep going if you're comfortable with that, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
That's really the outlook in terms of where we are from our federal versus local funding sources.
You're up now.
Okay, there we go. All right. So, if you move on to our next slide, it talks about our appropriations and where do we actually appropriate the $190 million. The majority of the funds are housing assistance payments. That's $100 million that goes out in the form of payments to landlords for our Housing Choice Voucher program. So that's a huge amount of infusion of resources that actually goes into the local economy here in Sacramento. 19% is for our capital projects, and 13% is for salaries and benefits, and then it actually outlines, financial transactions, our debt service, public services, and other services and supplies. Our next one is a multi-year budget comparison, and really this is to show you kind of what has happened with our budget over the past 5 years. So you can see where we were back in 2014, about $167 million, and how our budget has changed, and we're now at about $190 million. So our two largest programs are our Housing Choice Voucher program and our public housing. So the next two slides are really going to focus in on that. Our Housing Choice Voucher program, we are continually monitored in terms of what our leasing statistics are, in terms of how many vouchers are actually in use. So this really shows our leasing activity from 2010 all the way up to 2017 and what we estimate. In order to maximize the amount of revenue that we get from the federal government, we really need to maximize utilization of the vouchers and be within that 98 to 100%. So in 2017, you see that it does look as if we'll end the year with a lower leasing rate than we've seen in previous years, and this is a reflection in terms of the market dynamics that are going on and how difficult it is to lease up, even with a voucher. So we're still working very, very hard to try and increase that number, but our projections are really showing that we'll see a slight dip. And then in 2018, we are projecting that it'll probably rise a little bit back up to 97, and we'll still be working very hard to try and get within that sweet spot of 98 to 100%. The lower chart is our HCV HAP funding. This is the housing assistance funding, and it shows the revenue to expense. And when our revenue, our expenses exceed our revenue, then we have a reserve that we draw down. So the lowest bar shows how we've been drawing down on that reserve to make sure that we are using all of the funds that are allocated to us and that HUD sets aside for these purposes. Our next one is our public housing, and it...
Supervisor Peters.
At the last slide, you said you have reserves. How much do you have in reserves?
We have, let's see, $3.7 million in agency-held reserves.
Is that a percentage of expenditures that's has a cap on it from the federal government?
No, it doesn't have a cap on it, but if it gets to a portion where it exceeds a certain amount, those reserves are then recaptured by HUD and held in a reserve specifically for Sacramento.
Okay, so how do you come up with 3.7 then?
That's an accumulation of the reserves over the past several years.
Okay, so I'm trying to get to where you spend those reserves. Do you ever spend it down to zero?
I think the lowest that we've actually gone in reserves has been a 2-week reserve, is what I understand, which is about $4 million or so. So 3.7 sounds like a lot, but we spend about
And 3.7 is almost a 2-week reserve. Is that what you just
a
said?
little bit over.
Okay.
Yeah, about $8 million a month it goes out in terms of payments.
Thank you.
Under our public housing program, this shows our operating subsidy, rents, and other income, and then compares it also against our capital fund. So essentially, the money that we receive is money from HUD. They give us money for the subsidy and the operating of the program, and then we collect rents from the tenants based on their income. In addition, HUD also gives us money from a capital fund, and this is go to modernization and improvements. But the way that the calculation is done is each year they determine how much it costs to run public housing, and then we get a proration. So we get less than really what is required to run the program. Currently, we're prorated down to 93%, but some years it has been much lower than 93. Okay. So that's really kind of the big overview, and I really wanted to talk about kind of what's going on at the federal, the state, and the local level and our accomplishments. So I'll just move on in case you have any additional questions on the financials.
Okay, yes, Supervisor
Thank
Peters.
you. On that last slide, it says asset repositioning strategies continue.
Yes.
What is that?
Asset repositioning is where we look at public housing and really start to come up with strategies of how we'll infuse private equity into it. The Twin Rivers is a great example of how we are leveraging a public housing, now bringing on a private developer, then going for tax credits, and really increasing the amount of revenues that we now can use for that public housing asset. So when we say repositioning, we're either rehabbing it or we are demolishing and starting over.
So you review all the projects that you have in the portfolio and try and determine how it could be improved. If it could, where would the money come from?
Exactly.
That kind of thing?
So in 2008, we came forward with an asset repositioning strategy that looked at our entire portfolio, and then we broke them up into different categories. So there were the big developments, we call them the big three. Those are large developments. The other ones were our high-rises, our elderly high-rises that we operate in our downtown core. There are 6 of them. And then the rest were kind of more of our scattered sites. And so we had a strategy for each one of those, and each year we systematically have gone about implementing those strategies.
Did you say that was in 2008?
Yes, and so this year, well, next year, a part of the work plan will be updating our asset repositioning strategy. So we'll be working on updating it now with what are the newest resources available to us.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's a good segue into talking about kind of where we are at the federal level, and then also some of the initiatives and opportunities, exactly what you were referring to, Supervisor Peters, and how we can reposition some of our strategies and what tools there are available. So first, at the federal level, the big picture is that we're under a continuing resolution. So there isn't a federal budget. Our budget is based on our projections. We try to be extremely conservative, and when there is a federal budget and it varies significantly from our budget, then I come back and it gets updated. So Friday is the day that we're supposed to figure out what's going on. So we are waiting to see exactly what's going to happen. There are a lot of theories about continuing resolution beyond Friday, which is what I suspect will happen. But we still have to deal with the issue of sequestration and budget caps and how that's going to impact our program. The biggest thing and biggest issue that we're dealing with is affordable housing in relationship to our tax credit. program. Tax credits are the way that we are able to reposition our properties and all of the different activities that we embark on. In fact, the previous item under Southwind was another example of the use of tax credits and how they can go to really infuse cash and recapitalize properties that need it. So there's a 9% and a 4% program. Under the current the tax cut that is proposed, there's a Senate and a House version. Under the House version, it eliminates the 4% program. Under the Senate version, the 4% program is preserved. And now that they're going to conference, what we are waiting to see is how that will be reconciled. Obviously, we are working very hard through all of our organizations to make sure that the tax credit program is not cut. And so, because it's our main tool, it's our main way to really finance affordable housing. So if the Senate version stays in and our 4% program is intact, that obviously will allow us to continue a lot of the hard work that we do. The 9% program, however, under both programs, both the House and the Senate version, is looking at dropping the corporate tax rate from 35 to 20%. Once it goes to 20%, the question will be, what is the value of those credits that we receive under the 9% program? And really, everyone's guessing at this particular time. We really don't know. So that is something that we are also waiting to see, which will probably ferret out towards the end of this month. The last thing I read just before I came over was around December 22nd. They were hoping that they could get to conference and figure these details out. So obviously this is a huge impact on us and something that we are monitoring and looking at very closely, and like I said, working very hard to try and make sure people understand the importance of tax credits and what they bring to affordable housing. So in addition to that, we really, under asset repositioning, are trying to look at how we can continue to use the tax credit program, but also some of the other initiatives out there, like our Rental Assistance Demonstration Program. This is a program through HUD called RAD, which stands for Rental Assistance Demonstration. But it essentially allows us to leverage our public housing assets using tax credits. The other one that we are very interested in that is competitive, Rental Assistance Demonstration is not, but Moving to Work has only been open to about 30 some odd housing authorities across the nation. And this really allows you to customize your program to your local needs, which is really important, because then we wouldn't have the same burden of some of the regulations that we do to try and deal with local issues like homelessness and which levels that we're going to provide funding for. So a lot of creative things can be done once you receive Moving to Work status. So that is something that we are continuing to monitor, and at an appropriate time, if they open that up, is something that we really want to apply for Sacramento. So the federal level, there's a lot of uncertainty. So we are still, like I said, waiting to see exactly what's going to happen as a result of all of the things that are going on in Washington, and see what impact that was going to have. So as I know more, I will be getting back to you and communicating and letting you know exactly what happens. So going on to the state. The state has really this year had a banner year as far as housing is concerned. There are numerous housing bills that were signed by the governor. The two I'd like to highlight is Senate Bill 2, which creates a permanent source of funding, something we've advocated for years. And this is fees that will be imposed on real estate transactions. It's expected to raise a total of $5.8 billion over 5 years. And in that first year, half of those funds will be earmarked for programs to address homelessness. So we're very excited when those funds actually come online and we'll be able to access them. And then SB 3 is a bond initiative, and this is a housing bond that will be placed on the November 2018 ballot. It is expected to be a $4 billion initiative to pay for existing affordable housing programs. So there's a number of other ones. I won't go into a lot of detail with that, but it's in the slide in your packets. So we do have some great opportunities at the state. While these are great programs, we're really excited, it still pales in comparison to the amount of money that we have received under redevelopment, but it's better than what we had. So. In addition to that, now I want to move on to the local level. So we see what's happening at the federal level. The state level, the state has really stepped up their efforts, and now, you know, at the local kind of state of housing, we see that we're still continuing to have a decrease in our affordable housing production because there is a decrease in the amount of money that we have. Our resources are limited and are continually targeted for cuts. And then we're also trying to strike this balance always between preservation and new production. When we're looking at ones that need an infusion of cash after a 15 or 20-year period versus bringing new units online. So that is one of the delicate balancing acts that we are trying to do. So from the local level, we see that a lot of other local jurisdictions have really moved forward with local ordinances, bonds, or different types of measures that start to infuse money at the local level. And this is really used as an opportunity to have a leverage fund. The more funds you leverage at the local level, the more successful you are at the state and the more successful you are at the federal level. So you have jurisdictions like Los Angeles, San Jose have passed these different types of either sale tax or bond initiatives that really is creating a local kind of treasure chest of funds that are specifically earmarked for affordable housing. And that's something that, you know, I really believe that we in Sacramento want to continue to look at and advocate for doing something of that nature to really make sure that we can be as competitive as possible for these resources that are coming up. So in talking about our housing policy implications, it really does also give us an opportunity to look at our fees and our structures. That's something I know that you just brought up, Supervisor Frost. And so we want to really make sure that those, we are maximizing it. The one thing we might want to look at is our county housing trust fund fee. It's been fixed and hasn't been increased in more than 20 years. It's something we may want to consider increasing that fee, maybe doing an automatic adjustment, which is something that has been added to the city's similar type of fee. So those ordinances and those fees are really important because that's a part of how we stack and leverage all of these affordable housing funds. So I'll go on and talk a little bit about our Twin Rivers. That's under the asset repositioning that we have been doing for that development, 218 units that will actually then transform into over 400 units. So we'll be able to bring all of the public housing units back as well as affordable units and market rate. So it's a huge initiative. It will take us 6 different phases, but we have done a lot of work and have completed a lot of milestones. So we've embarked on relocation and relocation of the residents. So as we speak, families are moving, many into public housing and others receive special vouchers that they are out on the private rental market. They do have the assistance of a relocation consulting firm that's really working with them, so really working hard by the deadline, which is the middle of January, for all our families to be moved, and then we will start our demolition of phase 1. After that, we'll also start to work on the infrastructure improvements. We'll be applying for specific grants and other opportunities as well, so that we can make sure that this project continues to move forward. We're also working very furiously on a transformative transforming climate communities grant, $35 million that we are applying for from the state for this particular community, which has been identified in the top 5% of impoverished neighborhoods in the state. So when you look at the different indicators like education and health, this particular community ended up in that particular category. So we are trying to push the button tonight on that grant application, and that's where a lot of staff are back at the office working on it to make sure that we can get that turned in, and that will help us with a lot of the infrastructure and improvements we need for this particular project. The other major federal initiative is our Promise Zone. We've been working on that. We're showing that there is $55.3 million, but since we put this together, we're now over $60 million, so just a quick update on that. And we've been working with a lot of our key partners on a lot of activities within the Promise Zone. One of those is our car share program. It's the first car share program in California to serve subsidized housing communities. And it really addresses the biggest barrier that people have, which is transportation. So we're really excited about that particular program. Actually has been featured not only here locally, but also nationally. We had a Swedish television station pick it up and start talking about what we were doing here in Sacramento. So we've had 54 residents have signed up and numerous trips are taking place. In addition, under the Promise Zone, we've also done our SEEK program this summer. It's a STEM program for children in grades 3 through 5, and over 170 students actually participated in that program. The other program that really is a great partnership that we have with Samuel Merritt University is our Community Nurse Corps, where nurses actually leave their clinical setting and provide services on site within our public housing as well as some of the other local nonprofits. And this really has been a huge opportunity for our residents in terms of improving their health outcomes, but also has really changed how Samuel Merritt really approaches their working with their nurses. They find that they have really understood how to address issues that they don't see in the clinical setting, but they do when they're actually dealing with people at their homes. And then our Jobs Plus program over at our Marina Vista and Alder Grove has really been going extremely well. We have 293, I've updated that, it says 271, 293 have enrolled, and 89 residents have been employed since working on that particular program. And there's a picture of one of our residents who's working over at Sellens Market, literally across the street. So we're really excited for her. We go over at lunchtime and say hi. And then our next one is our P3. This is our performance partnership, and this is our program that we received a grant from HUD, 3-year program to deal with homeless and disconnected youth ages 16 to 24. Team has been working very hard on this over the past several months, but really it's trying to deal with those subpopulations of homeless individuals and what they need to address their issues. And so, as I mentioned, a lot of partners are there talking about how we can remove barriers and leverage our existing resources, and we hope in January to launch that program and be able to house our first about 10 to 12 homeless youth in that particular program. So very excited about that. So the next one really just, I've already touched on talking about our TCC grant as well as other grants we received under the Promise Zone. So under portfolio management, we actually manage a loan portfolio over $300 million, and that's 1,200 loans that we manage in all of those units that are inspected. So this really addresses, what do we do for the amount of fees that we collect. So there's a lot of work that goes into that, a lot of units that are inspected. There's over 22,000 units that we financed in this way, and those are under our purview over a 55-year period. So for 55 years, we're going to be in that project. We're going to be monitoring. We have guidelines that establish what the standards are, and those standards really have changed over time as a result of what we've seen and what needs to happen within the community. We also really work hard on home ownership, our Welcome Home program, where we have rehabbed some of our single family homes that have been vacant, and we have some that are under construction. I know that we had one in Supervisor Kennedy's district where one of our public housing residents who participated in an FSS program became a homeowner and moved into her house. So that was really a very exciting opportunity where we can see things come full circle. And then we're also a lot of work effort that we put in through our CDBG program, $4.5 million of county CDBG funds for doing all types of things like curbs, gutters, new sidewalks, and improvements. Here is a picture showing our Hurley Way improvements. And then under the CDBG program, also our safety net services, public services, Meals on Wheels program, a great program that serves our seniors, and we're able to also provide emergency housing assistance as well through our safety net programs, our emergency solutions grant. All of this falls under the public safety programs. There's a picture there from Rio Linda and their new and improved kitchen there that they have for their seniors who come out every morning for their meals. And then our housing programs, our public housing program is our largest. We are a very large housing authority, the 5th in the state of California, and we administer our federal public housing program that serves over 12,000 families through our tenant-based voucher. In addition, we also have our veterans, homeless veterans and their families. 512 homeless veterans are served, and then our Shelter Plus Care certificates, 575. So when you want to look at, who are these individuals that we're serving through our housing programs, the average family of 3, that's kind of the normal composition of the families, only make about $13,000 a year. 76% are headed by a female head of household, and 56% have a disabled family member, so we serve a lot of disabled individuals. 28% are seniors, and 45% are families with children. So I want to talk a little bit about our homeless housing strategies, and as you know, at the beginning of the year, we started off talking a lot about what we are doing to address the homeless crisis, and we have a 3-year plan of implementing for 1,755 families over 3 years. So the next chart was that, chart of how we break all of that out, and what we were able to do was really accelerate the work that we were going to be doing. So under our project-based voucher program, we thought that we do 375 over a 3-year period, and we were able to actually do that in our first year. So really working very, very hard and trying to see, based on this, what we projected, how we can do this quicker and faster. So the next category that we're really working on is our move-on allocation, and trying to see if we can get all of that done in our second year versus trying to do that over a 3-year period, and also homeless youth. So every single opportunity, every single category, we're continually evaluating to see, can we accelerate this? Can we do it quicker? And then we also want to take a look at where our numbers are and come back and give updates about, is there a need for us to increase this number based on what our capacity. So those are the types of things we'll be doing at the beginning of the year and really reporting back on, so that you can see the progress that we're making on housing our homeless individuals. So in terms of our permanent homeless housing solutions, we do actually provide housing solutions through a lot of the other programs that I just mentioned, our VASH program, our rapid rehousing, and also project-based vouchers. So those particular programs allow us to really make sure that we can get to those individuals who need them through shelters. All of that funding comes through the agency. Our emergency solutions grant helps to support that, and we're able to provide annual bed nights of over 94,000 every year. So those are the number of bed nights that are in all of the shelters that comes through this funding sources that we administer. And then the other thing that we always want to make sure that is understood is that we have operating funds set aside for permanent supportive housing, and those have a time frame upon which they expire over 5 to 10 years. So we really do need to long-term look at how we will be able to augment those particular funding sources and continually support all of the work that we've done. Colonial San Martin is a good example where we were able to do some really great deep levels of affordability, but it is supported by operating subsidies. And so we also continue to work on updating our ordinances. So our city's mixed income housing ordinance is something we worked on this year, and our city's housing trust fund. But more importantly, well, not more importantly, but in addition, a big work that we'll be working on is our affirmatively furthering fair housing. And this is a requirement of HUD that we really look at how are the activities within our region really helping people get housed and stay housed. So we have have a consolidated effort working with multiple jurisdictions all coming together to put together this plan and our partnerships on a regional perspective. The consultant has already been hired, is working on the public facilitation, so next year a lot of work effort will go into public participation, a lot of data analysis, and we'll be coming forward to you with the recommendations of what we want to bring for that particular plan. All the work that we do does have an economic impact. So it's not just about affordable housing, it is about jobs and what happens. When you look at last year, what that impact was, it was $248 million and over 283 direct and indirect jobs. So, almost done. A few celebrations that we had an opportunity this year. Ethan Terrace, that was another grand opening where we were able to rehab 92 units there by an infusion of 15.7 of rehab dollars. And then our Primetime Nutrition, this is where we were able to bring a grocery store to an area that had a food desert. So very excited about that. Great grocery store, had a lot of great fresh foods. Then Rio Linda, that was our kitchen upgrades, energy efficient kitchens, able to do roof repairs, everything in our phase 1. And then here we're talking about strengthening families and how we're able to really work. Grid Solar Alternatives did an internship program where people, where our residents were able to come out and train and learn how to do solar technology. And I think at least 6 of those have actually received jobs within the solar industry. And then we also have there Nikesha. She was one of our first graduates. We have a high school on site at Marina Vista and Alder Grove, and Nikesha was one of our first graduates. She wasn't able to graduate because she took care of her 7 brothers and sisters, and her goal was to graduate from high school before her youngest brother graduated, and she achieved that goal. So we were very excited when we attended her graduation. So we're also continuing to have partnerships and work on other programs that really help to address homeless families who are in the welfare system, utilizing our emergency solutions grants. So that's something else that we'll continue to work on. And then our family self-sufficiency program is another one that we're very proud of. This is where graduates are able to really work on self-sufficiency, and that's how we've been able to move some of those individuals through and receive not only job assistance, but they have to be off of subsidy for a 6-month period. But we have people who have set aside escrow accounts that have allowed them to put down payments on houses. And our resident training program, we really put a lot of effort at where we actually employ residents who work the agency over a 2-year time frame, and those residents have been able to go on and get jobs. So these are some of the awards and recognitions the agency has received in terms of our high performer status. But with that, I'm available for any questions that you may have.
Okay. Well, thank you, Lachelle. Again, a lot of information embodied in that, more than just numbers, though, I think, talking to some of the programs and people served in this community. So let me turn to my colleagues and see if there are questions. Supervisor Peters.
Thank you. Back to the tax plan that's going on in Washington, D.C. now, and I realize we don't have the final results of that, but has your staff taken, beginning to look at what other ways might come about to produce funding if the tax credit program goes away?
Yeah, that is a good question. Because the tax credit program is the major source of funding, when you start to talk about removing that, there really isn't a large enough funding source to fill that gap, in all honesty. It would be a huge infusion of resources. I think the Southwind, Southwind, what was the tax credit infusion on that project alone? I'm saying that because she probably has it right there. But it shows you the magnitude of what would be missing if it goes away. So the answer to the question is there isn't a source that can fill that gap. Because it's...
For both level, for 4%, 9%, for all of it?
Correct. So bonds and tax credits on Southwind was $11 million. So that's just one project.
Yeah.
But that gives you an idea of what we're talking about.
Yeah. So it would have to be replaced by grants and, I mean, other non-existent sources, which...
Yeah, maybe some of the state programs.
Do you know, I realize that you won't have this information at your fingertips, but how much a year do you think the tax credit program spends in Sacramento?
Yeah, I would have to get back to you. I would have to get back to you.
Okay.
I don't have it at the tip of my
Is there
fingers.
an order of magnitude?
Yeah. So
Tens of millions?
Oh,
Well, at least
absolutely.
10,
Yeah.
Oh,
probably
absolutely.
75 or something.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, even when we did, I know 7th and H, that was, oh gosh, over $25 million on that one project. So,
It's a big deal.
it is. And that's why, you know, obviously, you know, there's been a huge, huge push by many different groups as well. You know, the realtors, building association, you name it, they are really pushing very hard for this not to go through in the
And not
manner
just
that it
based
is.
on that, but also based on tax deductibility, right?
Based on, I didn't hear the last
Based
part.
on tax deductibility as well,
Oh, yes,
especially the building industry.
yes, absolutely. So,
Thank you.
Okay. Other questions or comments as relates to the agency budget? Just one comment, and thank you certainly to the agency staff. I know that through the efforts of a whole lot of folks, but certainly Lachelle and your colleagues in the agency, I know we worked to requalify the Delta under the block grant program, which had, and this is my words, not yours, I think in great error had been left out of the program based upon the way the census was conducted and the reliance on information that I think we were able to demonstrate through a whole lot of work and effort over a course of a couple of years that, in fact, things had not changed and that the samples, because of small population, really didn't reflect the economics of the economy and certainly the qualifying factors that would allow us to remain in the block grant program for that geographical area of the county. And so, as I understand it, as of the new budget year, they will be again able to compete in that part of the world for local block grant monies.
yes, that is correct.
Okay, very good.
That was
Thanks.
a lot of effort.
And then again, thanks. I know because again, this is coming off the 2010 census and information that then came to us in 2012, I guess, finally, and it took us about 3 years, and just in time for the next census to begin. So, but whatever we can do, I guess, to alert folks that are conducting the census that this anomaly, and it wasn't just us, there were other geographical areas in the country. I don't know how successful they were, but my understanding was we were one of a few that took the initiative to
Yes, to
Go
really
forward.
push back.
push back. So again, thanks to you.
Oh,
Okay.
you're welcome.
All right. I don't have anybody signed up to speak. Is there anyone here in the audience wish to address the budget or any items in the budget for the Sacramento Housing Redevelopment Agency 2018 budget? All right. Seeing none, then a motion would be in order for okay. Moving second then to approve the staff recommendation with our thanks to Lachelle and all those who prepared the information. Please vote.
Unanimous vote.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks. More to come. Right. Okay. That concludes the morning agenda. Flo, correct?
Yes, it does.
All right. We have no closed session. No closed session. So we'll return here at 2 o'clock, Mr. Gill.
2 o'clock.
Okay. All right, so we will adjourn for the noon hour and return here at 2 o'clock.